Okay, so we are live. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Snigdha Basu, project lead of the Disobedient Girl series at Story.biz. Welcome you to the final episode of our talk series. I'm privileged to have with us Raga De Silva, Harini Calamur, and Khushboo Mattoo this evening to talk about self expression through disobedience and rebellion. A reminder that Story.biz calls for submissions on the story from Disobedient Girls till 20th Feb. Other than that, registrations are also open for the writing program season 5 in association with Thrupa Publications. Let me begin today's session by introducing the panelists this evening. We have amongst us Raga De Silva. With over 25 years of experience in the creative field, Raga has worked in senior positions in advertising in India and New Zealand and has been the recipient of several prestigious awards. Co-founder and director of numerous businesses, she is also the co-founder of India's largest international speaker agency, Speaking Minds. Raga is a published author of Untold Lies, an avid blogger, and host of several online shows, including Coming Out Stories from India. She is a known advocate in the LGBT space and has been named amongst the top 100 Wonder Women in advertising, marketing, and entertainment in 2021. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
We are also thrilled to have with us Harini Calamur. Harini works at the intersection of digital content, technology, and audiences. She is a columnist, blogger, photographer, writer, trainer, and mentor to digital startups. She is also visiting faculty for degree, masters, and professional courses in media, communication, and digital at leading educational institutes. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
We are also
Thank you.
happy to have this Khushboo Mattoo. Khushboo is a consulting editor at Network 18 and a columnist with multiple publications. She writes often about the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits and is a researcher of migration studies and policies. She has been a part of various campaigns on radio and TV involving social injustice and taboos of society, especially related to exploitation and drug abuse. Welcome, Khushboo.
Thank you.
In today's episode, we will be talking about self expression through disobedience and rebellion. I'd like to begin the session by asking our panelists if today's topic of discussion is something that you relate to on a personal level, if you would call yourself a disobedient feminine, and if yes, how do you channel your disobedience in your daily lives?
Snigdha, who do you want to start?
Bhardwaj, would you like to begin?
Okay, thank you, Snigdha. Fantastic to be here and so lovely to be amongst Harini and Khushboo. To me, the word disobedience and the word rebellion, I have a huge problem with it because that in itself shows that people are so opinionated and they've already started judging the moment, which means that whatever my belief system is, whatever the way I want to conform my life is very unconventional for someone else. And perhaps it doesn't, the whole social construct that we've created around what is right and what is wrong. So I have been called disobedient and I've been called rebellious, and I absolutely do not think that I am. I think I just live my life freely. So to me, the moment you say that you're being so rebellious, and earlier people used to pat me on the back and say, Raga, you're so rebellious. I love it. I love it. I say, like, F off. Actually, I am not. I'm just living my truth. I'm being authentic. So how is that being rebellious and disobedient? So it's all stems out from patriarchy and how the social construct is and how we are expected to be in a, behave in a certain manner, and that's makes people comfortable. Otherwise, they judge you and give you labels.
So, as far as your question is concerned, do I see myself as being disobedient or rebellious? I should hope so. Because if there is a conventional way of doing things and looking at things, which is intrinsically against who I am, okay, I am going to rebel. I am going to be disobedient. And I am going to say F off. And I enjoy it. So I think I posted this on LinkedIn when I was sharing the blog of this, and then I was somebody who was this disobedient girl who grew up to be a disobedient woman, and I have loved every moment of it. This is who I am, and this is how I live my life.
Thank you, Raga and Harini. I just want to add to it that it's very interesting. I really loved when I was introduced to the topic, especially because I was always a very good girl. I was always following, since childhood, I've always been scared of failing, scared of losing marks, and then what my dad will say, what my mom will think about me. And I think, because you asked that, how you personally relate to it. Right now, currently, I think I am the most, I could have been as a rebel, I'm the most currently at this age, at this point, because and I really, really love that I've ended up here like this, because this is not my first session, not our first sessions. We talk a lot, all of us talk a lot. We are opinionated, strong headed women, and often our strong headedness is taken for aggressiveness. Often it's termed rebel, like, Raga said, it's termed as a rebellion in or as rude, but it's more of assertiveness, it's more of being strong headed, clear headed. So I love being a rebel right now. I regularly, I think since last 1 2 years, I tell my friends, I've become a rebel, and I love every step of it, because I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning every superstition, every taboo, every line, everything that I'm doing. I'm questioning it, and trust me, it has opened avenues for me that I never even imagined I could achieve in my life. So, maybe I'm too happy today, maybe it's my hormones or something, but I if I had to judge myself, I've already overachieved a lot, and it's only because I have started being disobedient and rebel in the true nature. That is what I'm trying to teach my daughter also. I'm an artist also. I restarted painting, 2 3 years ago, and I think it reaffirms the fact that, you do not learn between the lines. I mean, in boundaries, you do not learn in boundaries. Of There is more learning in chaos than in discipline. So that kind of discipline, where I think all of us agree what kind of discipline we're talking about. So I'm really glad that we're discussing this topic, and it has deeply affected me personally. I'm teaching my daughter to be a little free, ask questions freely, what she wants to ask, question everything, and that's pretty much to it.
Thank you, everyone. So, if we are to look at visual manifestations as a form of self expression, we know women's hairstyles have always been seen as signs of social status and may also indicate varied degrees of conformity. And if we look at hairstyles such as the mohawk and the punk hairstyles, do you think they all stem from an act of disobedience in order to not conform to what is considered feminine and modest?
Yeah, I'm going to start. I love, by the way, Harini and Khushboo, both your points of view. It's so interesting. See, I kind of fight that because I hate to be labeled. And maybe because I have been, apart from being labeled so many things, I've actually been labeled things that are quite have a negative connotation. So it bothers me. So I say, like, no, this is mainstream, this is our life, and why should we be labeled? But anyway, coming back to your question, your question about what are we talking about? Sorry, see, look at me. My age is
Hairstyle.
catching up.
Hairstyles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, no, yeah. I'll give you an example. It's not just a hairstyle, it's everything that you do which is outside the traditional conventional way of living. And I'll give you an example. My frames, for instance, and I was going to demonstrate it. So when I wear these frames, I have a lot of, you will see on my social media. People think जिंदाबाद जो बोलना है बोलो उसको, huh? So that it gives them permission to say whatever. Then I'm going to show you. I wear this frame sometimes. People say, "Are, are you wearing a toy on your face?" And I say, "Yeah, maybe I feel playful." Okay, I'll show you another demonstration. And then often I wear these glasses. Are Behenji, how are you? So you see, depending upon
Yeah.
how we express ourselves, whether I'm wearing a sari, whether I've had shaved hair, I've had half shaved, half hair. So depending upon how I present myself, that is how people respond to me. Now, what does it say? Does it say something about me, or does it say something about the other person? I think it says about both. To me, as I said in my first answer, that to me, it is about being yourself, whatever it is. In the gay queer world, as you know, that people often say that, oh my God, the gay community is so outlandish in the way they dress up. Now, is it outlandish? Or is it everyone is outlandishly dressed up? No. We see one or two people dressed up differently, expressing themselves differently. So that tag is given to us. Whereas all of us, I mean, like I said, sometimes I wear a sari, simply traditionally dressed, and I'm very comfortable. That's the day I feel like that. There are times I don't feel like that. There are times I feel like I want to express myself wearing something which is completely different, and they may call it outlandish, but doesn't make me freakish. So I think expression is important, and I often say in my talks that I am so glad that I finally had the sense of coming out as a lesbian, because it has given me the permission to be myself and express myself the way I want to. Because when I was in a heterosexual world, in a heterosexual relationship, I was expected to be in a very conventional kind of frequency. Everybody expected कि बीवी है तो ऐसे कपड़े पहनेगी, mother hai to aise hogi. Whereas I refuse to be that. I'm just going to give a very simple example. My daughter and I, just about few months back during lockdown, I had half shaved look and I was wearing my hair in a certain manner. You may have seen it in my promotional material. So I wear my hair up. It's a shaved look here. It's very, very different. So my daughter and I were going to some event which was, at her workplace. So I said to her, Anna, are you okay if I come like this, dress up like this? Are you okay for it? I was taking a permission. She turned around and she said to me, are you okay? First, ask yourself, are you okay with it? I said, I'm fine. This is me. She said, then why are you even asking? If you give yourself permission to do that, you should not expect anything from the world. Do not ask the world. You be you, you know? So that's me, Snigdha.
Thank you, Nan, and thank you for the lovely demonstration. Um, but Khushboo and Harini now like to add something.
So, so I think that the first time I cut my hair, must have been 8 or 9, and my grandmother didn't speak to me for 10 days. Okay, because good girls didn't go around cutting their hair. Um, so I think yes, very much so. It is very much seen as self-expression because um, at a certain stage of life, the way you look as a female, okay, there is a certain you're supposed to be decorous. You're supposed to have, and I'm talking about my generation. I'm not talking about the current generation. A South Indian girl of a certain generation was supposed to behave in a particular way. Okay, you're supposed to have oil in your hair. You're supposed to have two plaits. You're supposed to have flowers in your hair. You don't go around cutting your hair. And that's exactly what I did. I just went and I conspired with my mother actually. And my mother gave me my first haircut, and my grandmother was pretty angry with my mother as well. So I think that I think it is definitely self-expression, but I think more than that, it's an assertion of independence. It is saying that I really want to break out of these parameters you have put me into. Whether it's the first time you wear jeans, I mean, if you've been brought up in a very conventional, very traditional outfit, whether it's wearing trousers, whether it's coloring your hair, whether it's cutting your hair, whether it's wearing hoodies, whether it's wearing Western clothes, all some of my friends, I'll go to the other extreme. I have very close friends of mine who are Muslim women, okay, and they are like me. I mean, they don't cover their head, they have short hair and stuff like that. Their daughters wear their hijab. I mean, that's also self-expression. Okay, so you are looking at I have cousins whose daughters are extremely traditional. The parents are modern, okay, or what you will call modern, but the girls have looked at a more Hindu identity, a more traditional identity as being part of who they are. And I think that what's important is what Raga was saying earlier. And I think what Khushboo is also saying, which is this that don't be labelist. I mean, just because I turn up in a sari and gajra and a tika doesn't make me X. And just because I wear jeans and t-shirt and whatever else doesn't make me, I'm the same person. Okay, and I think, even if my hair changes, and I don't change. So I think that one of the things I would say is this yes, independence, but I think that the other one is also don't judge me. This is who I am. Okay, maybe the third part, a little part, is that peacock peahen thing, just come notice me. And I think in the main, it's the first two. It's I am my body, my life, and don't judge me.
Thank you, Harini. Again, this is very, very dear to me, and I'm so glad that we're discussing it because I'm a little different. I have been a little different from others for a long, long time. Especially when I moved to Bombay for studies, I realized that appearance is not that important because I was from North India, I was from Jammu and Kashmir, and we focus a lot on makeup and how our hair is, and are we waxed? Do we have a mustache? Or do we have a unibrow? Or what is wrong with our face? And do we have to have facial bleach? And I'm glad I moved at the right time. I moved in a good circle. I moved to studies. I moved to an exposure that made me realize that all of this doesn't appeal me. And I'm glad it happened at the right time. And I think my that rebellious nature started right there. I have never colored my hair. I have gray hair, and everyone from my mom to my cousins to my dear friends to my daughter, everyone tells me, everyone colors your hair. Why won't you color hair? You have gray hair. You should not. It does not look nice. It does not look nice. Color your. Everyone I meet, I think I get this comment every second day that, what's wrong with you? Why won't you color your hair? सो मेरा रिबेल तो वहीं से शुरू हो गया कि आई विल नॉट कलर माई हेयर. I do not like coloring. It's not that, Raga, I have had streaks in the past, but I moved on to a belief that I want to tell the world now that I'm not just a pretty face, and I will stop projecting that. I will actively, consciously not project that. So I will. I used to go to meetings. It's very funny. I was at a very senior position, but I used to go to meetings with, very simply shabby hair, and people are like, "Okay, is something wrong? Are you sick? Is like what? Why isn't there kajal?" And people keep on saying that. These. It's because everyone wants to judge a woman, and every woman is judged. It's not like Priyanka Chopra is not judged. She also went on to have a lip job or something. I am saying nobody is essentially happy if they keep on looking at the comments they get. So if it's your hair, or if it's your lips, your nose, or anything, or your body hair that we Asians specially have, I mean, I'm totally comfortable with it. See, and I'm glad my husband is also, he doesn't get repelled by all this. So I it's about who you are. It's not about this hair. It's not, the thing is that that was what Harini was saying. Wearing jeans is not about only wearing jeans. Cutting your hair short is not about, or grazing it or moving into a mohawk is not. Actually, the message is loud and clear, and the message is that it's our body and it's our choice. And if I like not coloring my hair, I like it like that. I have my reasons, and I also, it's not even necessary to give me an opinion on that. You see?
Can I add Snigdha to this? Can I add? And I just wanted to demonstrate. Again, I like demonstrating. See, I have a tattoo and quite a few tattoos. I'm just visible. I'm just saying the ones that are visible. And I wear two nose pins. Okay. Again, visible. So when I got into corporate India, I live overseas. I've lived in London for many years. And when I set up my business in Mumbai, came to India, I got told by many people, you know what? And my hair's grown now. Okay. So it was a different style. So I was told by many people, many so-called friends and well-wishers, that corporate India is not going to get you any business because you are so unconventional in the way you present yourself. And that was their opinion. You know what? I have never had an issue. My business did very well. I had never ever nobody. In fact, if anything, I got invited more often. Maybe they thought ये Zoom में होना चाहिए था, ये अभी इसको यहाँ देखेंगे. I don't know. But there is a certain amount of curiosity, and just Khushboo, to just add to what you were saying, I actually stopped caring about the world. I reached a point, and maybe because it is my age 50, I said to myself, I have lived my life for the world. I have tried to confine to your conformity of what
But
that
it's not
says.
working for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not me. Now I'm going to live
It's
my
not
life
me.
the way. Bilkul. I'm going to live
And I
my life
wish
the way
more
I
and
want.
more women who are listening to this session realize this, that any rules that are made for us to cover our hair, or grow our hair long, or put gajra in our hair, or design in a specific way, everything is to tame
And,
us.
and
Every,
ageist,
all
ageist.
the rules are for us. Why are all the rules for us? So
Yeah.
if women start thinking like that, and they dress comfortably, you know, whichever they will like, the way, they like. I think the first problem, the first primary problem will get resolved.
I agree. And also, like ages, like I used the word 50 and I said, oh, at 50, I decided to give up because people confine you in boxes depending upon what age,
Age
which
you are in.
region you come from.
Yes.
Like Harini said, for South Indian women are expected to be a certain way. I was married to a North Indian. I was made to wear a ghungat whenever I used to visit Ambala. It was only one of my uncles told me, chachas from my in-law side said to me, please, ye mat karo. You don't have to do this. That's when they broke the tradition themselves. But I was willing to do it for the sake of my marriage. But we have to stop it. You're right. It is all patriarchy.
So
Sorry,
the funny
Snigdha.
thing is that I used to the way I think Khushboo has rebelled against, let's say, waxing, and Raga about let's say other conventions. My little rebellion was on wearing the tika. So again, South Indian girls can't. You're not supposed to leave the house without putting that on your forehead. So I would wear Western clothes, and my grandmother would say, "Why don't you wear a tika? You look so pretty and you look so nice." And I'm looking at her saying, "Do I really need to do this?" And all these years later, even now when I wear a sari and you naturally wear a tika with it, I look at it and say, "करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए? करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए?" So I think there are just too many rules regarding our behavior, too many impositions, and imposed just as much by the matriarchy as it is by the patriarchy. And I know patriarchy is both genders, but there is also extremely strong women element of socializing us on how to behave on an ongoing basis.
True.
And I think
Yeah.
that so for example, my father, something as basic as again my generation, part of growing up was to have the segregation during your periods. Okay, the girls had, and in a Bombay one-bedroom hall kitchen, the only place for you to sit in was the veranda. And my father threw a fit at his mother and his mother-in-law, saying she is not going to go through that. Okay, and again that kind of liberation. So in a way, there are a whole bunch of things that you don't even know are wrong because you are too young and you are getting socialized in a certain kind of behavior. It's when elders and role models stand up and fight for you, you realize that you have those rights. You realize, just as Raga's chacha said that you don't have to wear a ghungat. My dad saying you don't have to segregate. There were some seriously good senior men in our lives, okay, who kind of looked at this entire shit and said, no, they don't need to do this.
Thank you. So, internalized misogyny often manifests as low self esteem and confidence. How does one unlearn years of what's ingrained in us, and how does one strive to be unapologetic uh, about that?
Snigdha, first of all, I think we have to be aware that there's something like that you have to there are certain norms in society, some things that your parents have passed on to you or the society in general has passed on to you that doesn't work anymore. That's the first thing, because we get so involved in day-to-day thing we think is normal. For instance, gendering clothes, or when the child is born, the girl is given pink and the boy is given blue. These are things we just don't even realize. Without knowing, we then start our own families and we kind of put this forward. The cycle continues. So first thing is to you know understand and accept. Reflection is important. Then unlearning. I have learned so much from my mother, I must say, because she had a huge influence in my life. It's only over time I realized that doesn't work for me anymore. That is not right. Ki sabke pair chuna. I don't do pair chuna. My way of respecting is not calling people uncle and auntie if they were like 100 years older than me. I may call them by their first name, but how I call them, how I say it is more important than what I call them. Simple things like that. My children are brought up in overseas, New Zealand and London. They call everybody by their first name by choice. Nobody's ever said to them, "Arey, you should be calling me Didi or Auntie or Tai or whatever." They're fine because they know the way they present themselves is out of respect. Intent is important. In fact, my book Untold Lies that I wrote, I've written 9 short stories in that, and that short stories is all about this. Is that how we are taught certain things? If we behave in a certain manner, people will label you selfish hai, ye to selfish hai. Or you see abuse around you, and if you stand up for that abuse, then you are called a certain name. If you dress up in a certain way, that is non-conforming to somebody, then they'll call you a slut. If women sleep with two men, then they're called a slut. If men sleep with 10 women, then they are studs. All this nonsense that we go through in life, that is what we have to unlearn. And that is what we have to pay forward to the society in general. That is what I think is about how, the narrative will change. And I keep saying the narrative only changes one story at a time.
I would agree with Raga on this, which is this that uh, in a way that you go through multiple things. One is the fact that you know you're being disobedient. Okay, any of us who's been disobedient doesn't do disobedience unaware. It's very aware. And therefore you also know you are getting a whole bunch of disapproval from people you love. Okay, and there is no way you can, especially at a younger age, their disapproval starts natural. Okay, when your teachers look at you in a particular way, when your parents say something to you, that, so I think that it always helps. Those of us who have had support have been extremely lucky. My parents have been fantastic, okay? In the sense of saying that you are equal, you should do what you like, you should study what you like, and so on and so forth. You should follow your own path as far as careers are concerned. So when at some point of time when I said that I don't really want to get married because I really don't see the point in it, my father was extremely supportive, and his entire thing to my mother and everybody else in the family is, haven't you people seen enough unhappy family marriages in our house? Why do you want to add to it? Okay, so the support definitely helps. I think that having those one or two people who support you unreservedly really, really helps. But there's a lot of stuff that you need to be able to do on your own. I think that this very firm view of who are you, what do you stand for, okay, or what do you believe in, and there are things that I will do for family. I mean, there are conventions I would follow. There are clothing that I will wear which I would not otherwise do to keep people happy occasionally. And that's also okay. It's not hypocrisy. For example, if I was going for a traditional wedding, I will be dressed traditionally. I will not say, okay, let me kind of go and shock everybody over there. I'm not going to do that. So I think that you need to be able to balance that entire thing out between. I don't need to be a rebel 24 by 7 by 365. Okay, I need to pick my battles. I need to choose my battles, and I also need to build those alliances. And I think those that really helps finding like-minded people, being able to hang out with them, knowing that you're not alone. Uh, that all of those start helping you. And I think that when I came of age, there are enough women who are disobedient. By the time I hit my 20s, there were enough and more women who were disobedient. So I think that was kind of very, very cool.
Khushboo, would you like to add something?
Yeah, can you repeat the question once? I was so engrossed in listening to them, I just lost the question actually.
Yeah, so it was about internalized misogyny and how does one unlearn all these years of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was, I think first of it, what Raga also said, and how Harini also mentioned that, unlearning is very important. Unlearning starts from observation and questioning, and and then it's just basically opening of various perspectives after that. And while you're doing all of this, you have to be unapologetic. You cannot be guilty. There's a habit with women. I see more and more women shatter the glass ceiling, and uh, more and more women at this point of time, so many women are independent and others are looking at them and planning to be. So but then there's a certain guilt in them. All of us, me too. I mean, we're guilty half of the time. Whether I you know whether I go out do that, or I just look at my kid. Oh, who will look at my kid? Oh, am I a bad mom? Oh, am I a bad daughter? I mean, we are judging ourselves constantly. So I stopped doing that a couple of years ago, judging myself, harshly. So we have to be, first of all, unapologetic in any action that we take, and we have to understand the truth, be unapologetic and understand the truth, which is, that a woman is equal as a man. And like, Harini mentioned in her previously, in some answer, that she said that, women pull down women a lot. The social fabric is like that, women are responsible for curbing the aspirations of women, and that has to stop. That will only stop when both the women know that women are equal to men in every aspect. Okay. And that questioning is power. Okay, the second point is that sometimes women are so passive, even in office or at home. They have the right questions, but they don't ask. Sometimes it's the fear. It's like you're being judged, or it can be anything. It can be your conditioning from your childhood, that ज़्यादा सवाल मत पूछा करो, लड़कियां ज़्यादा सवाल नहीं पूछती. Okay, all of that has to stop. You have to ask your questions. And I say this in every session, that being assertive is not aggressive. Women have to learn that. Like you take command sometimes at home, you've got to take command at offices also, in other spheres also, in leadership also, in politics also, because we want to be able to represent in every field. For
And
us
I'm
to
not.
address our issues, our representation is utmost importance. And how will that representation happen? Because men will eat us alive if we are not strong headed. Okay. And there's a difference between respecting and jailoing. There's a difference between respecting elders and absorbing the torture. you know Draw a line. No one can disrespect you, no one can call you anything, no one can dictate your life. You only know what is the best for you, and do that. I think I might have answered the question in some way, but
So I just have a point here. I don't think that we should get impacted by adjectives like aggressive and passive. I think that I've heard the term aggressive being used against me so many times. I have stopped saying it. Okay, so I think that we just need to park these saying that it's perception, and you think I'm aggressive, I think I'm assertive. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's not worth talking about. And I don't really need to change the way I am. Okay, if I hurt your feelings, if you get threatened by me, okay, calm down. But in an argument, in a business scenario, in other areas where you aren't getting triggered by me, you're not getting intimidated by me, it's immaterial whether somebody thinks you are aggressive or assertive or some other label. I think that we need to be women. I think that we question ourselves too much. Okay, I think that the problem with is not so much women pulling down women. I think it's us pulling ourselves down, as in I pulling me down. The double guessing that one does. Will they be hurt? Will they not be hurt? Okay, should I have done this? Should I have not done this? What will they think of the way I behave? Who cares? I mean, most 9 times out of 10, nobody cares. Okay, and that's something that I realize as I get older. That all these things that I thought that, oh, I cut my hair, the whole world is looking at me. No, they're not looking at me. They don't care. They have their own lives to live. So I think a lot of that's in our own heads, and I think that we need to be absolutely aware of that. The second thing, especially on aggressive, right now, I mean, for whatever it is worth, my ladki hu, main lad sakti hu is not a bad campaign. It's resonating with women because at a certain level, we realize that we don't want to be seen as people who have to be protected. मैं किसी की मतलब अमानत नहीं हूँ. Okay, मैं औरत हूँ यार. I'm a person in my own bloody right. I'm not somebody's property. I'm not somebody's.
no commodity, exactly.
I'm not a
Yeah.
commodity. I'm not a guy. I'm not gory. I'm not some third thing. I'm me. Okay, and I think that part. I think that's going to be very important. The other thing I think is very important, which is this. I tell every girl I mentor, every woman I mentor and train or work with, is that women need to be able to give up this fear of being laughed at. Okay, men I work with, and I work in television, films, anywhere that I work in, men can stand up there and say the most outrageous idea and not mind being laughed at. Women mind being laughed at. Okay, and that is something that we will have to overcome. And I tell the people, only way you will get ahead is come up with these outrageous ideas. Come up with these, do not get boxed in. Do not get boxed in by your gender. Do not get boxed in by your personality. And no, and if they laugh at you, it's cool. I mean, nobody's going to remember what they laughed at tomorrow. So I think that becomes extremely important.
You know,
Okay,
Harini, fantastic points. Really, I so agree with you. Like I remember a few, like couple of decades ago, I was in New Zealand and I used to live there. And this very high profile member of parliament, I still remember meeting him at an event, and we shook hands. He turned around and he said to me, "Oh, wow, your handshake is just like a man's." And I said, "What does that even mean? You know,
You have a
what does that
strong
even
hand.
mean?" And I said, "Oh, sadly, your handshake is very soft, you know." But that is one. And then, all these typical, events you go to and you put your hand up to respond to a question, and men get up and say, "Oh, women first." And I never allow it. I said, "Sorry, gentlemen first." You opened your mouth, so you obviously want to go first. So things like that, we have to stop. These small things. I know of so many women who sit in meetings and they will start the question saying, "I am sorry, but I
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
add this." Ye kyo bhai? Why? What are you sorry about? So we have to stop being that person who's this little small person sitting like somewhere on the wall and absorbing everything, too scared, too afraid, lacking courage, taking offense to everything that somebody says, but not having the courage to speak out. So that is why, when you started this, Snigdha, I
Also,
said,
also, also, because in boardrooms, a very tiny point that we should believe in the place we are sitting. We have deserved that place. We have worked hard for that place. It doesn't come. It doesn't come easily to us. That is why we regret and we are sorry. We shouldn't be sorry and apologetic about all that. We
you
have
know,
fought equally as men for that space. We're there, equally payable. And then we are sorry there, and then we are just spectators in the meeting while men are speaking and aggressively pitching. That has to stop.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very sad because, Snigdha, I'm sorry taking away your time here, but I've heard this so often in my 25 years of career where women have done really well, and then men mostly, and I'm sorry, not male bashing at all, but some points that are quite generalized here is that men will turn around and say, "Oh, but she's come up on her back," and I used to wonder what the hell does that mean? Which means she's slept her way through to the top. Do we ever hear women saying that about men? That he slept his way through the top? No. So we have to stop it. And there are women sitting around, they laugh at it and they
They
will
love.
banter
Yeah,
along. We have to stop, participating in such nonsense. We
normalizing all of this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have to call out such nonsense, and say, "No, that is not true." Give me an
not funny.
example of it. Yeah, it's not funny, but we love it. We get so scared to speak out. And I have been there. It's not that I've never always been like this. I have been there sitting in boardrooms and listening to the chatter, whether in India or New Zealand or London. And it's only recently I learned that I'm not putting up with this anymore. And thanks to that, thanks to my actions, my daughter, who's the next generation now, is learning to be assertive as well. You know, Snigdha.
Thank you. So my next question it's to Harini ma'am. Raga ma'am mentioned it earlier a little bit. So while some societies have worshipped female sexuality and celebrated goddesses with time-honored sensual priestess rituals, others have punished female sexual expression by death. Women are often shamed as sluts, and men doing the same are celebrated as studs. Today, where do you think we stand as a country if we talk about the acceptance of sexual expression of women?
Women and sex, what a strange concept. I mean, we just think and babies happen. I mean, so sorry, I'm being facetious over here. So I would say that even in cultures where they worship the Devi, okay, the female form, even in those cultures, women are blamed for their sexuality. So let's look at, let's say, the epics, Kunti, okay, and Karna, Draupadi for having five husbands, okay, Sita for being kidnapped by Ravan. There are enough and more women who have been judged. Amrapali, for example, the famous Buddhist, what's a female form of a monk, nun. Okay, Amrapali was a so the term mistress comes from the term master. Okay, so there's a master and there's a mistress, and they are of equal status. Okay, and these were people in olden times, whether it was in the west or whether it's in the east. Okay, who were property owners, who owned slaves, who owned servants, who owned land, who paid taxes. Okay, and they paid taxes to the local king. But over a period of time, the woman became the kept woman because she was treated as a man in terms of her sexuality. She could pick lovers. She because she was seen as a individual as opposed to that as opposed to the wife. So Amrapali was called the Nagarvadi. Okay, that she's the daughter-in-law of the city. Okay, which basically means that she's free with her favors. But she wasn't that. She was far more than that. She was a scholar. She was a jurist. She had an intellectual reputation. But what I remember of her now is that she was a courtesan. So women have, even in cultures where you worship the female form or the female sexuality, women have been judged for their sexuality. I mean, there are no two ways about that. In others, there are, of course, far stricter rules. For example, in the UK until the end of the 18th century, 19th century, 1800s, a woman who demanded her share of property, her father or her brother or her husband could actually lock her up in an insane asylum. I think you're talking about 120 years. You're not talking about medieval history. So, or for example, the women in the Middle East were stoned to death for adultery. Okay, or for example, the kind of pressures on women who are lesbian in extremely strict Catholic countries or extremely strict Islamic countries. I don't even know what happens to them in Iran. It's scary. It's scary. So the need to control is not determined by whether a culture worships the female form or not. I think that the worship part is temporal, but what's practical is the control of the woman and the sexuality across the board. That's my view.
Thank you, ma'am. Raga, were you trying to say something?
No, no, I wasn't, but I will add to that. I agree with Harini. I just want to talk about the word sex. Everybody's running away watching us, no? Because that word sex doesn't exist. And women cannot talk about sex, right? It's a taboo subject. But when I get asked, what is your sexual orientation? So a lot of people forget about my 25, 30 years of experience in advertising media and the stuff
That
that
is
I
all
have
they
done.
ask.
Most of
Yeah.
the people, nobody remembers, nobody even. So when Snigdha was reading out the bio, I'll tell you the only thing people will remember, Array, she came out at 50 and she's a lesbian. That's all they'll remember because that's all people want to
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Baki, awards, recognition, the path breaking stuff you would have done in your professional life, that is not even considered. Okay. So the word sexual orientation itself, I have a problem with. Because the moment we say sexual orientation, one, of course, it boxes you. And seriously, suddenly people are like thinking, it's because I talk about the zoo syndrome. I suddenly become a monkey and I'm put in an invisible zoo and then thinking, Ray, how do you all do it? And that's the first thing people, sexual orientation is not about a human being, it's about their sexual preferences. That's what people think. How do they have sex? That's the
Who
thing
cares?
that yeah, it is very, and I've been asked this, Harini, many times. How do you do it? Like, do what? It's like the only thing they remember is about the sex part, and then we don't want to talk about it because women cannot talk about sex. Like you said, we don't procreate. It's God's intervention or whatever. Third, somebody intervenes and we have babies. So I also have had babies like that. I have twins who are born out of some intervention, not my own biology, of course, and this really bothers me. And I think that women like us, we need to have more conversations about taboo subjects like sexual orientation, sexuality, sex. And I keep using the word sex. And anything that is seen as, hey, Bhagwan, ye kaise? How do we change the narrative? This is how we change the narrative. The cinema, the influence of cinema. People are now
Yeah.
talking about things that are, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word masturbation or
Mm.
intimacy, where you think orgasm, these are things that are natural, biological things that we have to go through and we have to talk about it. Otherwise, the narrative will not change. It will be one sided. Let's please the man, let's make it
Yeah.
pleasurable for a man. No, it has to be pleasurable. Equality is not about having gender parity and same, good salaries and all that. It is equality also comes to the bedroom and into intimate relationships. That is when people will start respecting the so-called intimacy and love. Sorry, I just wanted to sneak that, add that bit.
No, thank
See,
you,
I said
ma'am.
I'm sorry.
So I have a question for you. Um, I recently came across a headline that caught my attention: from the closet to the catwalk. And that brings me to my next question on queer fashion as a form of self expression. Media often leans more towards theatrical spectrum. Like if you look at the portrayal of drag artists or even the representation of men belonging to the community, men of color even, and in bold jackets. Do you feel queer fashion has somewhat been stereotyped and being generalized for being too flashy?
It is both ways actually. I think a lot of people from the community. I'm talking about the LGBT community, what you call as the queer community. A lot of people have had to, make a splash. You have had to have some kind of voice. So many people have done it in different ways. And one way of, sharing your voice or making yourself visible. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for, is through demonstrating it through your clothing, for instance. That's one way, right? The way you present yourself, the way you dress up. In my case, it is about the way I speak, perhaps, at certain conversations that I have. So then I'm saying what we do is we take a small percentage of representation and then we generalize it. This happens in every, whether we're talking about heterosexual life or a queer world or women, anything marginalized, we make a big deal of it. Like I said, I think I responded to this question earlier. The queer folks are no different. We express ourselves. Some express themselves very boldly, and that is seen out there, visible. And some of us live just a regular life. And I will say sometimes, as I say, boring heterosexual way of dressing. But in the heterosexual world also, you'll see some who splash out and have bold colors. It's just a way of expression, and it's the way to get noticed and be visible, and it works for the community, I think. So it works both ways. The community also makes use of it, and the world, the media world, makes sure that it's accentuated so that we can have a visible voice. But in doing that, what we're also creating is again this whole conformity or the stereotype, and that is what bothers me, that everything becomes so stereotyped. That we have to stop. While I want to be mainstream, that I want the gay community to be mainstream, but I don't want to be stereotyped. I'm not any different. People ask me, "Hey, do you want to, as a lesbian woman, do you should I have a separate toilet for you?" Corporate companies ask me when I do talks, and I say, seriously, yaar, can you find some more intelligent question to ask me? I'm a woman, yaar. I will go to a woman's toilet. I still have the same, everything
Anatomy.
is, सब कुछ same है. So why will I need a separate toilet? They do ask me that, and seriously ask me. So how do I answer those questions? I have to just keep answering until everybody understands. Sorry.
Sorry, I had a point here, which is just that there is this overwhelming requirement to stereotype people. Okay, so for example, if you're watching a news program and I say like, here is Khushboo Mattoo talking about a Hindu point of view, you will automatically show her with a orange skirt. Okay, or if I say here is Raga Olga De Silva talking about something from a Muslim point of view, you will show her with a skull cap or a burqa or something. And yet, enough people who are Hindus who don't wear orange scarves, and enough people who are Muslims who are not wearing a skull cap or a. Similarly, there are enough gay people, lesbian people who dress just like you and I do. Not everybody is out there. So I think that one of the things that as media professionals we also need to do is to stop this stereotype. Okay, there is no reason somebody who's got purple hair is a particular way, as opposed to somebody who's wearing a suit. Okay, they could have the same sexuality, or they could have different sexualities, and the person with the punk hair may end up being more conservative than the person with the suit. So there's no saying who is what, and I think that the pervasive need to kind of stereotype, cast. Like for example, for the longest time, a Hindi film would show a gay person as having a lit wrist. I mean, I have no idea why, but they would keep doing this, okay, on screen, and I have never met a gay person like that. Okay, and I know a fair few gay people, and I have never met a gay person doing that. So it's these kind of things, and we need to start calling them out because they are discriminatory. Okay, they are discriminatory. They target people. They caricature people, and they as Raga pointed out, they put them into boxes and shove them saying, "This is who you are, and this is how you need to behave." Just again, bringing us back to this conformity all over again.
Sorry, Snigdha, that reminds me also when this is very right, true of what happens when I wear a sari and I go out somewhere and I have men, sorry, and I'm going to bring out men again. Men come to me and they try to be flirtatious and charming and whatever, and they make a pass at you. Yeah, at my age also they do. And I tell them, but sorry, I'm gay. I'm not into men. I have a partner. And I have so often men turn around and say to me, "Oh, but you don't look gay." So what is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to even mean? So again, why do they say that? Because we have socially conditioned people to believe that gay people look a certain way. So you'll have short hair, butch hair, you'll walk like, in a certain manner. So we have to, that is also stereotyping. So you have to know, some people are out, some people are not even out. You won't even know some women who are out there, men who are out there, that they are gay. And you have to
I think
Hmm.
I think from what I've been listening for a while now, and I think that this psychology of the human mind to always compartmentalize, always try to fit into what it has learned since childhood, always fit into a certain environment. I think that's not going to go easily. It's going to take some time for us to find symbols in a person who's just we just met, to try to fit that person into the categories we have in our head. So I think that is not going to go easily, but that is what the fight is about. That is what it is about. You look at me, and can you just if you really want to judge me, can you just judge me on the work I do, on what I'm saying at that point, on my opinion, or on my work, especially. That is what my own internal fight is about. So I think the human mind tries to, you know, always put people into the boxes in the head, that, oh, she is wearing that, so she must be like that. So I have to talk to her that way, and her the other way. So maybe I can hit on her, and I shouldn't hit on her, probably.
That's why Khushboo, cinemas play a huge role. Because
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
watch, most of us watch cinema, and I know Harini doesn't watch TV, but most of us watch cinema. And like in olden times, they would show a secretary, would always be a Catholic girl, and she would always have a drink, and she would always be sleeping with the boss. That was a stereotype. I'm a Catholic. I take sorry offense to that. I am none of those things. So but I grew up being told, when I chose advertising as a career and got into did my MBA, people told me, but Arey, how come you don't want to be a secretary? Isn't that what all people assume, that I was a secretary? That stereotype we will break over time with these conversations, these dialogues, one story and one narrative at a time. That's our job.
So I don't think it's when you were a child. There was this movie with I think Deepika and Saif Ali Khan, and there was this girl called Veronica, and I think the other girl was Meera, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Veronica was somebody who was how does one put it, democratic with her sexual affections. Okay, whereas Meera was.
If I'm not wrong. Is it cocktail?
Cocktail, I
I
think.
think so. I think I think so. I can't be sure. I'm terrible with names. And Meera, of course, was somebody who was a virgin till the day after she got married. So it's again that stereotyping, which is that people need to behave like this because they are like this, and boxing up people. Um, it happens all the time, and it is definitely going to happen with sexual minorities even more than it happens with all minorities. It happens with
Yes.
left-handed people. It happens with people from the northeast. Oh, you look so Chinese. I mean, yeah, how many of us have cringed on hearing this? अच्छा आप ये होके अच्छी हिंदी बोल लेते हो आप मद्रासी होके भी अच्छी हिंदी बोल लेते हो यार I mean हद होती है so it's an entire boxing that we need to be able to resist और आप लड़के होके क्यों रोते हो I mean that
Yeah.
poor guy needs to climb
Also,
on the
unboxing requires a lot of awareness and IQ, collective IQ of a society. We're not there as Indians. We should not be offended, but our IQ is 80. I hope you all know that. So maybe we need to work on that. 80 is very less. As a crowd, collective IQ, height भी वैसे हमारी collective कम है, but let's focus only on IQ. सो कलेक्टिव अवेयरनेस दैट रागा इज सेइंग मूवीज से होती है, मीडिया से होगी, आपस में वहां से शुरू होगी तो घर में भी आएगी. It will come home, but it has to start with that. You cannot forever have, you know, we say that, I'm sorry, but I by mistake read Malaika Arora's interview, probably maybe on my own channel, that she said, I think doing item numbers is liberating, and I feel empowered and in control when I'm doing item numbers. And maybe I'm conventional, conservative. I did not understand those set of words because item numbers have done us a lot more damage than it has done any good to Malaikas of the world. So I think objectification has to stop. It needs to come out through the movies, and we need to stop being judged. And there's this very good movie, international movie, that most the worst person in the world. If you haven't seen it, you watch it somewhere. It's, I think, it's a movie from Denmark, and it's a very good movie. It leaves you with something. Or The Lost Daughter, if you've not seen that already. Some of us have. It's on Netflix, The Lost Daughter by Maggie Gyllenhaal. So you see that there are movies with women at the center, with the characters not judging them, judging each other. That needs to, maybe we need to do more of that responsible media. And like Harini said, if I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, I मेरी तो कोई बात ही नहीं सुनेगा, मैं तो पहले ही लेबल्ड हूँ. ठीक है. So all of that needs to stop. I understand the IQ problem, I understand the culture, I understand that we still haven't evolved to a place that we need to reach at. But these discussions and all will eventually maybe instill some sense in our kids, and then collectively they sit and discuss not just sex all the time. I mean, um, they discuss actually some values and work, and they discuss changes in society. As much as I respect talking about sex and sexuality and sexual desires, sometimes I feel we over talk about them. Sometimes I feel we overdo that. And I sometimes, when in discussions with women around or with men, I used to feel maybe I'm asexual, because I like talking about other things. Maybe I'm asexual, but I have two kids, and I'm really not sure that is the case. But sometimes I think uh, talking more about something also spoils the reason. I don't know if you're getting my point. What I'm saying is that,
I think
sometimes we over talk about sex. Look at men thinking about it every 60 seconds and then talking about it. They're more obsessed about it, watching porn all the time, and, normalizing watching porn and all of that. It comes from objectification of women, and that needs to stop. And then
I think
please think about something other than sex sometimes.
I think it comes from also a certain, and I think this is being the, if you really analyze it, if you had to ask what was the outcome of 300 years of British rule, I think this entire Victorian society was they were very okay and open about sex, including within the courts, including within the understanding that men would sometimes prefer men and women would prefer women, that marriage was for procreation and so on and so forth. With the entire Western concept of monogamy, with the entire concept of homosexuality being against the church and against whatever, a lot of that came in over here as a part of the control systems. Okay, and amongst the things, I mean, you talk about a culture which has got carvings of people doing it. Okay, it can't get more explicit, and I'm not talking about Khajuraho alone. I'm talking about ordinary temples which are like 300 years old, 400 years old, will have these kind of carvings. So there was some point of time where this openness about sex got sublimated under this entire taboo about sex. So I think that what has happened in India over the last 100 years that we are seeing and facing mostly has been this entire taboo. You can't talk, you can't, matlab, instead of showing two people kissing, let's show two flowers coming together or two butterflies coming. I mean, that level of inanity which has made people absolutely furious. And of course, the entire judgment around it. Okay, कि इसने किया तो खराब है, ये इसने किया तो फर्जी है, इसने किया तो kuch aur hai. I think that part of it. Somehow we will need, and TV is of course helping it. I mean, if you look at any of those TV shows that happen, which kind of focus exclusively on uh, sexual repression and prudery. I think that you know, it just goes so contrary to who we are as a species.
Thank you. So my final question to all the panelists. Do you think cancel culture is simply a new way to manipulate women and limit them for being opinionated and make them behave as society deems they should?
Gosh, my favorite topic, and I just did a TEDx talk on cancel culture. To me, I think I think it's not just about women. I think cancel culture is about exactly what we're talking about here. It's about canceling freedom of expression, freedom that we have as a society to have our opinions, to share our own thoughts, share who we are. That is being cancelled. And like I said in my TEDx talk, what we're canceling is that whole desire. If I have to say something about somebody and I think I have done all the research and I speak about it, there is a fear that you may take offense, and in that taking offense you will cancel me because it doesn't conform to your way of thinking. And that is my question: is who takes offense, what do you take offense to, and is that my responsibility? They're canceling Enid Blyton books, they're canceling so many other things. History books are being cancelled because they were seen as xenophobic, racist, discriminatory in the past. I'm saying, why would you want to saying that? Oh, I'm afraid what the children are exposed to now. Harry Potter in certain books, libraries have been cancelled, and you know why? There are so many things happening around the cancel culture that we like. In certain books, it says now in England that trigger warning. You open the book, it will say trigger warning. So you're telling your child, be careful. This may have some things that will trigger you, right? I mean, we grew up reading all kinds of stuff. I don't think I'm traumatized as an adult. I'm traumatized for the experiences I've had. I'm not traumatized by the books I have read. So cancel culture is very dangerous for the future generation. We are going to tell the generation that I am going to doctor whatever you're going to read, and your opinions are now going to be completely cancelled, or I'm going to take offense to it and cancel you. That has to stop. I don't think it's just about women, and it is to an extent. And so the moment I raise a voice, and if you take offense, then I'm cancelled, or I have a fear of being cancelled. But I think it is across society right now. Men, women, stand-up comedians, anybody who has a voice. I think this may also get cancelled. We've said certain things that everybody may not agree to. They may take offense. And
I think that
Khushboo, you took somebody's name. है ना?
I think cancel culture is trying to kill diversity and ensure that only one frame of reference is used to look at the world. And I think that it's extremely dangerous. I don't care if the intentions are good or bad. The point remains that nobody started out by saying, okay, let me build a tyranny. Okay? And cancel culture is essentially a form of tyranny, and it needs to be opposed.
Khushbu, now would you
Yeah.
like to?
I have spoken earlier in earlier sessions also about on cancel culture, and I really agree with what Raga is saying, that cancel culture is not restricted to women. It is in general the habit that's happening now. But if you look at what the implications on women are, it's far more serious than on men, because women in life also get cancelled for almost being judged on their looks, on their sexual orientation, on everything. So online also, if you talk about cancel culture online on social media, women get cancelled a lot more than men, because men support men and then women cancel women. So women, this cancel culture needs to stop because it's really toxic. I have borne the brunt for cancel culture a few times, and it feels horrible at times, but then that is what the issue is, that it's so easy to cancel somebody right now. It's so easy to make somebody feel that you're garbage. And to women especially, it is a lot more, maybe it becomes more sentimental for them, because we were talking about earlier, कि हमको meetings में we also have an emotional side to us, that we'll feel bad on certain things, we shouldn't be feeling emotional about certain things, so we do have that emotional side to us. And then when canceling happens, and then it's brutal, and it's sort of like a campaign when collectively people decide to boycott you, not just books, or not just movies, or not just events, or not just comedians. When people, as a person, you get cancelled, as a person you get, because you have a certain opinion, you get blocked, you get harassed because of that. That's also cancel culture. So that needs to stop. But I don't know which direction social media is going in. Where will this cancel culture lead to, especially with the newer generation? We don't know, because maximum these kids maximum are single kids. Okay, and then they don't have siblings already, and they're already a little alone, little lonelier compared to those who have siblings, and then it becomes a little vulnerable, because then they have friends, and then friends keep on canceling them. It's easy, because no one gives you a call now. You block somebody on WhatsApp, that's the end of it. Okay, so I think obviously cancel culture needs to stop, but it's happening more and more, and then we need to first of all understand why is it happening, and what can we do to avoid it, because teenage girls are more vulnerable than us women. At this age, or at this point in our lives, we still have some clarity of thought, and we still can stand our ground. But teenage girls need that assistance, and then cancel culture is not going to help them achieve what they want to do in life, because all they want is support.
Cancel culture is important though, in a manner. It's important for the right things. Censorship is important because people have, make homophobic attacks or discriminatory comments, or they are sexist. So in those cases, yes, I think somebody has to call them out, and they have to,
So
bear
obviously,
the
when
brunt.
somebody is
Correct.
harassing you, you block that person. It
Not
really helps.
no, not just harassment at an individual level. If say some tomorrow I go and I make a generalized comment about something which is completely offensive to the LGBT community, then they have the right to question me and ask me for the clarification. And a lot of times people do it. I mean, you would have seen it happening. I mean, Goldberg said something really, really discriminatory about the Holocaust recently. She's been suspended for 2 weeks. So yes, people have to be aware that you cannot cross certain boundaries. And censorship is important because people of influence, when they say certain things, people listen. And so if you say something which is bad for that particular community or for that group, then yes, perhaps you can get cancelled. It's a whole, but it has a negative as well, which is that,
So
reputation, your whole reputation that you have, created over the years, that gets cancelled, that gets marred. In my case, so you're talking about trolling as well, Khushboo. I get trolled, I get rape threats, I get death threats for just being who I am. I don't even care about them. They don't even bother me. What bothers me is I speak my truth, and my truth offends you, and you decide to cancel me at a mob level. In India used to have it happen street mob. One person is hitting somebody, and then thousand other people join in and hit that person, not knowing kya hua. Same thing is happening online. Mob. So it's an online mob that piles on to you. That needs to stop.
So I would say that canceling people for being sexist or racist or homophobic or transphobic, while I agree on it on principle, it's a slippery slope. Okay, it's a slippery slope because what do you say? How do you decide? Okay, there is no arbitrator, there is no judge, there is no jury.
Correct.
Let's say, for example, you say something as basic as, and I'll do fact shaming right now rather than anything else. Let's say you say that people who are overweight have a higher risk of having heart attack. Am I fat shaming someone, or am I talking about a medical risk? And very often, what happens is there is a complete conflation of issues. Okay, and labeling somebody as being anti-Kashmiri or anti-Hindu or anti-Wales or anti-dogs or whatever is very very easy, and then wanting to cancel them is huge. So should you be protesting if somebody is being racist or sexist or whatever else? Of course you must. But are you going to get them to lose their job? Are you going to kill their livelihood? And
Exactly.
I'm not really sure I'm God. I'm not sure whether I should be making those kind of decisions. That this person will never work again. Yeah, if somebody has been a child molester or something like that, something heinous, that's a different matter altogether. But if you're talking about somebody having an opinion and for that opinion even losing their job or losing their career or losing whatever, that's a problem. Until now, we've been okay with it because it's been happening to one side or the other side. Now what's happening is you have cancellations across the board. The right wing is cancelling left is cancelling right. It's crazy. You're not going to have anybody left.
I agree with you, and that is what my TEDx talk talks about. Like, who makes that decision? Who is that person who decides, and who takes offense to what? What is right for me not be right for you. But it's an opinion, and we should have the freedom to express ourselves. And years and years of reputation cannot be tarnished, and livelihood. A lot of people have lost their livelihoods. For what? For somebody else's inability to accept opinion. Snigdha, fantastic topic, I must say.
Thank you, ma'am. And I agree, these issues that we largely address today are something that we cannot get rid of all at once. But we do have a lot of control over our actions and beliefs, and we can always start by taking baby steps at course correcting. Um, so I would like to thank all our speakers today. It was a pleasure to engage with you all. And I think I'll be wrapping today's session with that. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
A reminder that tellmeastory.biz calls for submissions on the story from Disobedient Girls. Other than that, registrations are also open for the writing program season 5 in association with Rupa Publications. Till then, stay well, stay safe, stay together, grow distanced. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.